know, nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Football.
Welcome. Comments from YouTube on a Monday, which means it's Judd, it's Declan, it's our friends from Surly Brewing, it's our friends from TCL TV. Enjoy sports on a TCL TV. And in fact, TCL and Surly will have a convergence off the top of the show. I want to tell you about a convergence that's going to happen on Thursday night when the first ever Surly Brewing Purple Daily Draft Party is held at the Brew Hall. Opens at 3 o'clock. We start at 6 o'clock with our YouTube show, our podcast, which will go till the draft is done. And you can snag yourself a TCL TV at the event, as well as the Before I Die ale that will be brewed or is being brewed or has been brewed by our friends at Surly for a one-night-only unveiling. Before I Die, Mackie, Judd, and Declan. NFL draft talk, delicious eats at Surly. What more could you want, Declan?
Right, yeah, no. Okay.
All right. Comments from YouTube.
Drips, drops, Supremes, Before I Die, Furiouses.
Furious.
Hells, the Warp Zone. I could go. All right, I don't want to. I do want to make it actually all
It's like a
about
team.
Surly.
That's what I said. It's about team. It's like a team.
First round draft pick.
And
baby.
you can win a TCL TV.
And a TCL TV. All right. Let's start with this first comment here. A lot of, obviously, comments about the draft and some other overarching things with the Vikings. Let's start with this one from Shady Rebob. I believe I have this pronounced correctly.
I love names.
Shady Rebob says, center is my biggest worry, and hopefully we have an average player to win that spot. So this also coming off the heels from Chris Thomason, and I believe Pro Football Talk also aggravated this a little bit over the weekend. That it's very likely that the Vikings will not be picking up Garrett Bradbury's fifth-year option, which is due in about a few weeks here from the 2019 draft class. And if that is indeed the case, Judd, I think it also puts an emphasis on the Vikings potentially taking a center at some point in the draft. Maybe not high, but at some point in the draft.
Yes,
So
agreed.
how, maybe a two-part question. How likely is it that the Vikings will have a competition maybe at center with a draft pick this year that can compete with Bradbury? And how concerned, I guess, should Vikings fans be with the center position?
Pretty damn concerned.
Okay. Well.
I think the Vikings scheme and I think the thought process of the offensive coaches is going to improve things. I'm not saying it's going to make it perfect, but I think it's going to improve things. Mm-hmm. But, I've been saying this for quite some time, and I think you're on board. Garrett Bradbury has spent far too much of his Vikings career being forklifted by big defensive tackles. I don't know you can fix that. I don't know that you can.
I agree.
I don't know that a scheme can legislate it is now illegal to forklift the center. I think the odds are very high that they draft a center. Now, they're not going to draft one clearly in the first round, I don't think. But, we've talked about this. The kid from Nebraska had a great pro day, supposedly is very good. He would probably be a second-round pick, third-round pick. I would guess second. That might be a bit high. I think they're going to draft one, though. I think they're going to draft one, and I won't be surprised if they take one, especially on Friday, which is the second and third round. I won't be surprised if there is a competition. I think one area where Kevin O'Connell was feeding us BS, and I don't know that I think he's been pretty sincere so far. But anyway, I think one area where KLC was feeding us a line was in his combine comments about Bradbury. I mean, he made it sound like, oh yeah, we think he's great. We think he's going to be good. I think they probably watched enough tape and talked to enough people to know that that's probably not the case. So I'm going to say the odds are pretty high that the Vikings draft a center at some point and that there is some type of competition. That's not to say Bradbury won't be atop the depth chart when training camp starts.
Sure, I get you.
But I don't see him being left alone as far as, well, this is our guy. If you're not going to pick up the fifth-year option, clearly there's a rightful lack of trust there. So, yeah, I don't see this being just Garrett Bradbury's our guy. Oh, look, he just got thrown into the third row of U.S. Bank Stadium. I don't think that's a good idea when your whole game plan is to lift Kirk Cousins up.
I think with Bradbury and the syndrome that Vikings fans have, and of course I said on Purple Daily earlier this Monday afternoon that, hey, I'm trusting the plan here. Trusting the plan with Kwesi and KOC, whether that's picking whoever it is at 12 or trading back. Like let's give them the benefit of the doubt for right now that what they're doing is the right thing to do. But if it's Tyler Lindenbaum at 12 which by the way, I think is a reach. I do have some immediate concerns there just because you took a center with the Bradbury pick 3 years ago at 19.
Yep.
And also and maybe this is me assuming, and we all know what happens when you assume, but you don't need to take a center that high in the draft. So like if you find some 4th or 5th round dude, like great, and have him compete with Bradbury and see who dukes it out, right? Like I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the way they take it. I think they should. I think they should be looking at competition. Bradbury got the benefit of the doubt the last 3 years as to being the starting center in training camp, right? Like obviously, when he was drafted in 2019, it was a foregone conclusion. Hey, you're going to be our starting center. Rough rookie year, but what, hey, that's being a rookie in the NFL, right? Like you still get a pass to a degree. You get a little bit more cushion.
Absolutely.
Well, then year 2 goes around, and then year 3 comes in, and I know he missed some games because of COVID, but he lost his job for a little bit to Mason Cole, who was basically signed off the street last second before the season happened. So he no longer has the luxury of being given the benefit of the doubt. And I know Kevin O'Connell talked about scheming him correctly, but I'm with you. At this point, and also Bradbury is not young anymore either. Like he was drafted as a 4-year starter out of NC State. So this isn't a young pup you're trying to teach, like teaching a new dog a new trick. Like this is who he is. So I don't think you're going to be able to change him. So drafting a center, I think, should be a priority.
And part of the advantage of first-round picks as a whole is this: that 5th-year option exists not because it's still cheap as the first 4 years, but because if the player performs as expected, it's a really good deal. So if you don't pick it up, it is tantamount to saying it didn't work. Like if you're like, we're going to no 5th-year option, that is literally saying it didn't work.
Yeah.
Because the 5th-year option is supposed to be considered reasonable. And I agree with the Vikings in saying, don't want that. So, yeah, I think it's incredibly fair to say that we have now got a sample size that says it did not work.
Next question here from Russell. Russell says the Vikings would be better staying put and grabbing the first receiver off the board. This is a weapons league now. Now, Russell on the latter part is completely dead on. It is a weapons league. It is more than just one clip and one bullet in the chamber. You need multiple bullets. You need multiple clips, if you will. I know nothing about guns, by the way, so I don't know why I'm acting like and using these gun metaphors. But I think it's definitely intriguing to draft a wide receiver. Yeah. And especially if, one of them, I think London probably is off the board by the time the Vikings pick at 12, but there isn't that bona fide stud that we've seen in a lot of mocks that go in the top 5 or really in the top 10 that's been a lock. So if there is not a wide receiver off the board yet at 12, well, then I think the chances of them taking a wide receiver literally are almost not a slam dunk, but rise significantly.
So there are definitely some good wide receivers in this draft who are going to go in the first round. There's not going to be a run in the top 10, so there's definitely going to be one there. I think there's a couple that they really like. One, I'm not going to be surprised. Two, this is a big change for me in the last 3 to 5 years. I used to be don't draft receivers first round unless they are Pro Bowl players, like star players, because, much like with Diggs, you can find one in the 5th round. But to what the person said in their comment, and I agree completely, is when you look at how this league is trending now and where the rules are essentially set up to reward offense, it's changed.
Yep.
It is 100% changed. The other thing about a receiver, if you really like him, that I think is worth discussing here is Thielen's back, which is fine. But 1, he's not young. 2, he's injury prone. Mm-hmm. And 3, I don't think he's back here for a long time. So you're drafting a guy who could complement Thielen and Jefferson immediately, and then just as importantly, take Thielen's spot. Makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense. And KJ Osborne emerged as a nice player, but he's a nice player. He is not a top-of-the-line guy. He is a guy, remember, and I know that Spielman screwed stuff up, but KJ Osborne was taken in the 5th round, if I'm not mistaken, with the thought of being a return guy, which he wasn't very good at. But nonetheless, he wasn't drafted because of his receiving skills. So I think that the play, if a guy is there who you really like at receiver,
mm-hmm.
makes perfect sense both for 2022 and beyond. It gives you a lot of security at a spot where as the league evolves and changes and gets more and more incredibly offensive minded, you can use that. So yeah, I love that thought process.
All right, next one here, more draft thoughts. This one from Pablo. He says, I think if Stingley is going to be there at 12, the Vikings are going to stand pat and take him.
Okay.
Trading up or down most definitely is more exciting, but we Viking fans should be happy getting a guy like Stingley. What's interesting to me is if Garrett Wilson is there at 12, we'll really see what kind of team Kwesi Adofo-Mensah wants to create, and I'm putting it at 50-50 that they would take Wilson.
Yeah, I love that note. I love that. Yes, all of those points are good points. And if Stingley's there, it's going to be incredibly tempting.
Yeah.
And I think that they might. The only thing that scares me off a bit, and this is just from experience, is it feels like this is one year where in the mock drafts, so many people just are assuming that the Vikings will take Stingley that at some point in time, I feel like that, and it won't be despite the mock drafts, I just feel like their thought process, Declan, might be different than the assumption. But that note to me is, yes, it's very reflective of how I feel. And this is the thing. We don't know these guys. Like, I know that as far as free agency goes, that Kwesi did a lot of Spielman-like things, and they brought guys back, which is a Rick thing. So, yes. But at some point in time, these guys are going to make their mark, right?
Absolutely.
They're going to make their mark. And this is why this draft excites me so much. It's not because the first round is great, because it's really not. It's because of the lack of quarterbacks. In my opinion, a bit of a mundane draft on star power. But I am so eager. I am so excited to see the fact that on Thursday night, starting on Thursday and concluding at some point on Saturday, we're going to get a much better read on what this franchise values and what their thought processes are, which right now we don't know.
One more here from Aussie Vike regarding the draft. He says, Vikings have to hit on all their draft picks each year to balance out the Cousins cap hit. I think this is a really interesting point because obviously the 2019 or 2020 class is highlighted by Justin Jefferson, who obviously is a very stud player. And in 2021, it's just like, we really don't know. Like, Christian Darrisaw stepped in and was solid when he was finally healthy, but there was a lot of draft picks made in those last two draft classes, right? And it's kind of on the thinking that if you're going to have a player that's taking up a large part of your salary cap, you have to get most money out of your rookie deals. You have to. It kind of like it reminds me of the Wild right now, where they're going to be in salary cap hell due to the buyouts, not necessarily due to all players making a lot of money. But their entry-level contracts have to hit. Like, right, those rookies like Rossi and Boldy, they have to perform. You don't want to trade away those draft picks for the same reasons. In the NFL, it's similar here, that you get at least 4 years of the first-round pick under pretty reasonable terms. So I think this part is accurate here. Like, they have to figure out ways. That's why I love what the Chiefs are doing. Like, the Chiefs have a bunch of picks in the first, like, I think 4 in like the first 50 picks in this draft.
At the end of the first round.
I like the idea that they are literally saying, well, Patrick Mahomes' cap hit is eventually going to continue to go up no matter how much we try to restructure and play with it. So we have to get home runs on these draft picks. Like, they have to be impact players.
Right.
I kind of agree with what the Aussie Vike here is saying.
And this is why what you need to do as well is position yourself for the 23 draft to make sure that you have, if nothing else, the capital to go up and get a quarterback. Because you're going to, I think, in the draft next year, have to look very long and hard at finding Cousins' replacement, who, by the way, then will be on if it's a first-round pick, which it should be, a 5-year team control contract, right? But the interesting thing there is it's going to be offset largely, probably, by Justin Jefferson's eventual payday. So, yeah, like, this is all, to me, a puzzle. And the puzzle is, what positions are you valuing? How are you paying them? And if you're going to now pay Jefferson a ton and Cousins goes, how can you get a quarterback? And that's where he's right. Like, you got to hit. Now, do you have to hit on all your picks?
No.
It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. That's a huge ask. But as far as the quarterback goes and your first round picks, you cannot afford the Garrett Bradburys. You can't. Like, that mistake is monumental. It's huge because you get an underperforming player on a team-controlled contract at a position that you want to be good. And now you can't replace him. So I don't think that this means that Kwesi has to hit on all the draft picks. I do think it means that there are certain areas of the draft, though, where you have to find top-end talent that you're going to have, in the case of a first-round pick, for 5 years under pretty much your control.
Next one here from Don, who I believe actually might be potentially criticizing me and Phil from the take of top 5 offense to like only marginal defensive takes from last week. He says, this is ridiculous. In order for the Vikings to go from 14th to a top 5 offense, they only need to add 2 points per game. The bad schemes and bad play calling should fix that. The defense can greatly improve with pressure on the quarterback to take the pressure off the DBs. I know what he's trying to say here, and that, yes, it's only 2 more points per game, but it's more than just philosophy. It's so much more than just the players that are on the field, too. That, yes, the bad things should fix that, but also, can this offense indeed go to being a top 5 unit with better play calling and scheming, and can the players and Kirk, mostly Kirk, execute that type of game plan?
And it's also a question, too, of we are talking about having a high-flying offense. Like, they don't have that. They've got offensive components that are really good, but we're talking about scheming and literally being able to just beat teams in track meets. So, like, I think it's more than a statistical analysis of your potential rank. That's important. But what's most important is, can you pile up the points when you need to? And that's where... And the thing about the defense, too, is this. If the defense, I mean, Zimmer lost his fastball defensively. He at one point was great. But you're going to now have a defense that also the scheme is going to help as well. But this team for a long time, even with the Cousins signing, was all in on defense, right? That philosophy has to shift now. It's going to shift. They're run by an offensive guy.
Yeah.
So that philosophy is now, we are an offensive team that doesn't want to be crappy on defense. Previously, it was, we are a defensive team that wants to get by on offense. So this also goes back to the monumental seismic shift in philosophy here that we are about to see. I'm excited for it because I would rather watch a team that's, that doesn't fall apart defensively, but can really run up the points on offense. In other words, I don't want to go to any more games like the Browns game here last year where they scored right away and then it became just a atrocious battle of something, I don't know what, and the Vikings lost.
Almighty JD says, have we forgot about how big of a problem offensive play calling was last year? Kirk stepped up in a lot of big-time moments last year. I know he wasn't perfect, but he played a hell of a season. A big part of this offense wasn't wasn't where they should be was play calling. LOL. So yeah, just another trait that play calling being a big part, which was bad. Quinn Kubiak was in over his skis, dude. I feel at some point I feel bad for him. Yeah, I feel bad for him.
He should not have been given those duties.
I agree.
His dad left and they gave him those duties, and I believe I early on questioned that because we didn't know a thing about him. I mean, he's not Gary.
No.
That's all I got. That's all I got. He's not Gary.
He's not. Gary's honestly
the farm.
As a legendary, very, very good, very established offensive football mind.
Yes.
All right, Rain Man here, Judd. We might have to adopt this from Rain Man. Okay. He has come up with his own syndrome and definition. It's called Kirk Holmes syndrome. Would you like to hear what the Kirk Holmes syndrome is?
Kirk Holmes syndrome, okay. Yeah.
From Rain Man. He says,
sure.
Kirk Holmes syndrome, is a condition where some fans develop a psychological bond to box scores, causing them to ignore how they're held hostage by an overwhelming gravitational pull towards 500. That's never going to let them experience a championship. I don't know if Rain Man is Phil Mackey's YouTube burner account. This honestly sounds like a lot of things that Phil has talked about on this show. But Kirk Holmes syndrome. What do you think of that, Judd?
I love it. In fact, you know what? Save that.
Okay.
Phil will love that.
Yeah.
Bring that up on our show because Phil's going to love that one. Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think it's perfectly put. The box score syndrome because he's a great box scorer.
Right. Another one in the same vein, too, actually,
Yep.
that we could send to Phil. Benjamin says, can we dedicate a Write That Down episode to predicting the excuses that Kirk Annan, KFAN, and Kirk himself come up with for the inevitable 2022 letdown? I think that'd be way too... Write that down on our end is already kind of difficult.
Yeah, that's another show.
And that's
like a show.
That's another platform.
That's
I would need
spitballing.
years.
That's a good one.
In fact, because this week's obviously the draft at Surly Brewing. We're excited for you to join us there.
Thursday, first round.
But also, the next 2 accountability sessions are going to be lengthy. We'll be sniping through dozens on dozens of predictions. Yes.
We could do a show if things don't go as expected or as planned. What are the excuses going to be? That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Because the thing about it that I'm curious is, you feel like the Vikings are trying to, for the most part, remove the excuses. Like, I think the offensive line now is pretty good. So that's gone, right? Scheme is going to be perfect. That's gone. Like, if there's anything about the scheme and play calling that the Kirk stands don't like, then you just say, you got everything you want, right?
Yeah.
Like Dalvin, as long as he does not get hurt, which hopefully he, plays 8 games before he gets hurt and then plays after that. But the point is, I am curious what the apologists are going to fall back on. With Zimmer, it was easy.
It was very easy.
Kirk's getting screwed. They didn't meet. And you know what? Some of that's 100% right. But what are the apologists going to fall back on now? It's a good show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need time.
Couple Judd comments here.
Oh, good.
Carl Edwards says,
Carl.
Judd makes me want to hate the Vikings. Judd, your stance on the team, he makes me want to hate the Vikings. He doesn't say why.
I'm excited about the draft. I'm excited to see what they do.
Well,
I hate the Vikings.
Carl says you make him hate the Vikings. I'm guessing he's a Vikings fan. Maybe he's not a Vikings fan.
But so he doesn't hate. But I don't even understand that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Don't hate the Vikings.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate the Vikings.
Yeah, we need it. We need them. We'd be nothing without Kirk. Well, we'd be all right without Kirk. But we've definitely built a following.
Yeah, I mean, you just get another quarterback. Yeah. Hopefully, one on a rookie contract who's really good for the first time.
All right, and Bob says, Judd, if your beers are talking to you, run in all caps and drawn out. I think you said your beers were talking to you, your Surly cans.
Yeah, no, we talk all the time.
Okay, so that's a normal thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to run from that. Why would I run from Surly Brewing?
It's true. I wouldn't. I certainly would not. I would never run.
I wish they sold it at
Wolves actually, games. You know what? I can make the case that I run to Surly Brewing.
I do too.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so disappointed that they don't sell my beer.
Judd even goes to Surly Brewing. Doesn't even invite his sports son. He'll text us like, "Oh, is that Surly Brewing for a couple hours?" And, well, where's my invite, Judd? Judd just goes there. Judd doesn't want to spend time with me there sometimes.
Yeah, I don't really want to spend time with
literally anyone.
I want to spend time with a few people I know, and that's it.
He shares a home with his lovely wife and dog.
Yeah.
But that's...
Well, the dog doesn't like me there.
And the dog... Oh, really?
Your dog and I don't always get along.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, the dog and I don't always see. Let's just say the dog is in a worse mood than I am.
Oh, wow.
The dog's not very tolerant of me.
Okay. Vinny likes me.
Vinny's young.
Vinny's young.
Wait till Vinny gets older and decides.
Vinny and I were snuggling really well this last few. I love a good puppy snuggle.
Oh, a good puppy snuggle is great.
You don't. It's a feeling.
A good puppy snuggle is great. Yeah. No, you know what? No judgment there. No judgment passed.
Okay.
Puppies don't pass judgment.
Yep. Drop us your comments.
Humans, judgment.
All the judgment. Drop us your comments on puppies, on dogs, on beers, on whatever it is about the Vikings right here on this YouTube channel, and we'll answer them twice a week, Mondays and Saturdays, because it's Vikings content 7 days a week on this YouTube channel. We'll be back at full strength, I believe, tomorrow.